Like a scene from Romeo and Juliet, Mark Antony laid in his lover's arms dying. As Cleopatra looked down at the Roman general, she knew instantly that her time had also come. Distraught with heartbreak and fearful of her future, she joined her beloved with the help of a poisonous snake. Today's hero of history has inspired millions over the centuries. Even to this day, her controversy prevails. In a recent Netflix series, the truth of her ancestry has been called into question, with many now saying Cleopatra was of African descent. But we'll get back to that later on. For now, could you do me a favor? Just hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Also, subscribe and whack that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Okay, let's crack on. In the annals of history, the narrative surrounding Cleopatra, even more than 2 millennia after her demise, remains conspicuously one-dimensional. In popular consciousness, she is the quintessential seductive temptress who bewitches men with her beauty and charisma. However, irrespective of her attraction and allure, there exists no solid evidence to prove her power was based solely on looks. In fact, it was well known in the ancient world that Cleopatra's formidable stature wasn't down to the above at all, but rather an adept manipulation of public image to fortify her authority. And boy, did she do that well. When we study the reign of Cleopatra, it quickly becomes evident her vitality was just one part of the equation. In ancient Egypt, foreign and domestic threats to crown sovereignty were commonplace. With this in mind, Cleopatra showed astute political skill by forging alliances with the most powerful Romans of her era to fortify her position. Eventually, however, these decisions would lead to her downfall. In 49 BC, she was forced to flee to Syria to amass an army, having been exiled from Egypt by the pharaoh, who was also her brother, spouse, and co-regent. Upon her return, with an ambition to seize the throne exclusively, Cleopatra secured a private audience with Julius Caesar, who had journeyed to Alexandria to mediate the dispute. According to legend, she enlisted her servant Apollodoros to smuggle her into the palace concealed in a fine rug, thereby ensuring direct contact with the Roman general. Following her successful persuasion, she not only earned Caesar's endorsement, but also his affections, enabling her to dethrone her brother and claim the throne for herself. Shortly thereafter, she became pregnant, and in 47 BC, this calculated union bore a son and successor, Caesarion, thought to be the inspiration behind the term Caesarean section. However, there is nothing to suggest this was an unusual birth. After the assassination of Caesar in 44 BC, Cleopatra adeptly thwarted any potential claims to her position from her siblings in a ruthless dynastic fashion. Her younger brother Ptolemy mysteriously vanished. Historians say he was most likely murdered, while her sister Arsinoe was exterminated at her behest, thereby clearing the way to install her son, Caesarion, as co-regent. When Mark Antony assumed governance of Rome's eastern provinces, Cleopatra orchestrated her next political alliance. A clever maneuver, executed with her signature theatrical panache. She undertook a voyage to Tarsus in present-day Turkey. Donning the guise of Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, she sailed on a golden barge graced with purple sails and silver oars. This grand spectacle yielded the desired effect, and the pair plunged into a fervent romance that solidified Cleopatra's control over the throne, while also preserving Egypt's autonomy. As time elapsed, their union brought forth 3 children, and by 34 BC, the astute queen had skillfully allocated kingdoms to each of her offspring beyond Egypt, seeking to broaden her realm. What an intriguing notion there are likely people alive today who can trace their lineage directly back to the Queen and the Roman generals she loved. To this day, the true identity of Cleopatra remains a subject of scholarly dispute. Historians are divided over her lineage, with the majority championing her Macedonian Greek ancestry as a descendant of Alexander the Great, while recently some argue for partial African descent. This contentious topic has reignited recently with the Netflix series Queen Cleopatra. The side of Cleopatra's bloodline that remains a mystery, and the cause of recent debate, surrounds the ancestry of her mother and paternal grandmother. However, we need to add that many experts say there is no evidence to suggest either woman was of African descent. Irrespective of her racial origins, Cleopatra embraced her role as an Egyptian queen and was the first in the Greek-speaking Ptolemaic line to master the Egyptian language. Endowed with intelligence, competence, and charisma, she was widely revered among her subjects. Her influence was so profound that 3 centuries post her death, she was still venerated in Egypt. And that just about does it for today. The captivating and intriguing story of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Don't forget to hit that like button. I heard it eats both yellow and brown snow. And subscribe for more real tales from history. Comment down below which historical figure you'd like us to cover next, and let us know your own thoughts on Cleopatra. Where do you think she was from? So I'll see you next time. Be sure to stay smart and keep exploring. History is being written as we speak,